What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video on TPL locks. Welcome back to a slightly better video quality. We're recording on my phone now. My camera should be fixed soon, but we're not talking about that today. Today we are talking about someone's dreadlock journey, and that person is Luka Sabbat. So Luka Sabbat is an American model. He's famous for being in the 2018 sitcom called Brownish, and that was a spin-off of a show called Black-ish. I haven't seen either of these TV shows, but that is apparently where he got his start. He was born in a designer family. His father has a line of women's apparels, Sabbat, which is Luka Sabbat's father. His mother worked as a caterer and used to be a model broker. So he is definitely a child of a fashion family, and he featured in ad campaigns from Vogue, Refinery 29, Tommy Hilfiger. This guy seems to know everyone in Hollywood, and he seems to hang out with everyone as well. But let's look at his locks. Let's start in 2014. This is the earliest that I can find a locking picture of him. Here you can see this guy is an instant model. I mean, look at his face. I mean, you can make money with that face, definitely. You can see his hair here. He basically has quite a big afro, and it's already starting to lock. He looks like the typical freeformer that lets his curls lock up by itself. Then another picture in 2014 where you can see that he's wearing a cap. You can see that he has these individual strands that are starting to lock. So I do think in his case, with the coarseness of his hair, that he did pull apart some of his locks in the beginning just to make sure that they don't grow together in one huge clump. Or he just touches them here and there. A lot of people do that. They're not really successful with never touching their hair. So I think that's the case here as well. Then in 2015, you can see him here again with that model stare, that classic model gaze. And his locks are starting to form quite well because you can really make out the individual locks that still are a pretty decent size. It looks like he has a lot of hair, because if you see how relatively thick these locks are already, and that's only the locks in the front. My hair would never look like that if my locks were this thick. So he probably has thick hair, has a lot of hair. Yeah, they're coming along really nicely. You can also see the way his afro is shaped, that he probably doesn't manipulate his locks too much because it has that, I would say, static look. Like if you wash your hair, your locks start to hang, even if you're free-forming or semi-free-forming. But in his case, it kind of reminds me of what my locks used to look like when I just got out of bed. So I think in his case, he's keeping the manipulation to really like the minimal that you can possibly do, because you can see the shape of his fro. And yeah, something else that we need to get into with Luka is his style, but we'll do that at the end of the video, so keep watching if you're interested in that. 2015, you can see him here with Virgil Abloh, the guy from Off-White, the designer, and he probably did a campaign for him. And his locks, they just keep on growing. This picture is a bit lighter than the previous picture, so you can see his individual locks starting to really take shape. You can still see the curly ends, so he is still in that, I wouldn't say baby locks, a bit after that stage, but he's still like, his locks are still forming, they're still shaping into the awesome set that he has today. Then we move to 2016. Here you can see very clearly that his locks are starting to lock up and get really tight. And the way you see that is because it seems like his hair is a bit shorter. Sometimes when you start getting locks with, I'd say a few inches of hair, your hair starts locking up, but it also after a while starts shrinking because the locks, the dreadlocks, are getting tighter and tighter. So they kind of clump together, and in that process, they become a bit shorter. Again, you can see that it looks like a lion's mane, the way he lets the front like fall to the front. and it looks very natural. Something else that you are starting to see is perhaps his locks are getting a bit lighter. That is something that happens to dreadlocks more often than when your hair is not locked. 2017, and we can already kind of see his style, his epic style. What's funny in this picture is that besides that his locks are trying to form, are really starting to take shape, they really are starting to look like adult locks. You can see that he has more hair on the left side of his head, which is kind of funny. I'm not sure if he just did something to make that look like that, but if you see on the right side here, he has way less volume on this side than on that side. But regardless, this guy, I mean, I've become a fan. I didn't know him before people started recommending him for this lock review, but since I've looked into his pictures, you can clearly see that this guy is super confident and probably a really cool guy in real life as well. Another picture in 2017. Here you see that same look where on the left side of his head, he has a bit more volume than on the right side. But again, you can see the shrinking is still going. 2018, it's getting crazier and crazier. Here you can see that he is really gaining the length. So in 2017, they were kind of up to or down to halfway his jaw, I'd say, and now they're almost touching his shoulders. So after a while, after the locks have started maturing, after that process, they start growing like crazy. Most people's hair seem to grow quicker when they have locks. Again, I'm not sure why that happens, but I've seen it a lot. And now we can also kind of explain why he seems to have more volume on the left side of his head, because more of these locks are starting to grow together at the roots, which makes them seem like they're kind of standing up. So I think that is less so happening on the right side. His descent, for the people who want to know his background, he is of Irish, English, German, and Haitian ancestry. So he is a huge mix of a lot of different things. And it's cool that he's rocking his locks in the process. We jump to another picture in 2018. Here you can see clearly that the tips are becoming a bit lighter than the rest of his head. But again, this to me looks like classic freeform set of locks. Although what I find weird in this picture is that it seems way longer than this picture. So maybe this picture is 2017 instead of 18. Another giveaway for the fact that he's freeforming is that you'll see many thin locks down by the edges of his hair, and then you see thicker locks and congos even on other parts of his head. From that same day, another picture where he let his hair down. Here his hair looks a bit longer, so I guess the timeline is correct. They just seem longer because he had them pulled up in the previous picture. And yeah, you can really appreciate his set of locks here because the lighting is perfect. What else can I say? This guy looks dope. Another 2018 picture. Here he's pulled up the bulk of his hair, and here you can see what I was talking about earlier, that around the edges he's starting to get super thin baby locks. This also happens because if you get thick locks from freeforming, the hair around the edges doesn't always combine with that lock. So then after a while you start getting those mini locks because they start to form on their own. Then we end up in 2019 where his locks have become way longer. They are way past his clavicles at this point, and they start to look a bit less crazy and unique. They still look very unique, but you can see that the longer they get, the more they start to hang and the more they start to look like, for lack of a better word, generic set of locks. You can still see the variation in length, because here you see a really thick one, here you see a bit thinner one. You see some loose hair around his head as well. But yeah, he's starting to grow some long locks. Here you can see he's hanging out with Selena Gomez. So then in that same year, you see another picture, again the same length, and I really hope he grows out his locks because I think it would be super dope if he has very long locks with this freeform type look. And yeah, I think it's cool to see that as a model he still rocks this look and he gets booked for all kinds of campaigns, because it is a very unique look and not a lot of agencies will probably accept it if a model has long dreadlocks. Here you can see him again with Virgil Abloh in 2019, and we can already start to see his style a little bit. That being said, let's hop into some pictures of his style, because I just have to show you what he looks like from head to toe sometimes, and how awesome that is. So here you can see him. This is probably for a photo shoot, and this is probably one of the least weird looks that I've seen him rock. But then in this picture, for instance, you can see that he kind of mixes and matches anything he likes, but because he has that confident look, he probably walks around the street, down the street, not caring about what anyone thinks, and you can really see that in the way he dresses. Here again, like I said before, he seems to be super connected, because you see him here with Frank Ocean, with Kendall Jenner, and you see him with so many different people, artists, actors, models. I think he must be having a very interesting life. Here in this picture, again, he just mixes things that you probably wouldn't wear on its own, but he just throws them together, and with his swagger, I'd say, he really pulls it off. Oh yeah, in this picture, people are rumoring that he has a relationship with Kourtney Kardashian, so that is quite interesting. Here he is on the cover of GQ. This is a bit more of a classic look, but with the necklaces and the rings and the suit, I think it suits him very well. And then this is the last picture, where again you can see that he just wears different patterns together. He pulls up his hair. He has like the thin locks around the edges hanging down. He doesn't care really, and I think that's pretty cool. I think more of us should not care and just walk around with whatever we like. Yeah, with that being said, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That really helps out the channel and lets me know that you enjoy this video, so I can make more of these. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at tpl.locs, because we're gonna do a giveaway pretty soon. I can't really say what it is yet, but you'll see soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.